You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Since 96, MLS has been the youngest soccer league. From 10 teams to 30, playoffs and parity. Battered MLS bring local guests to cover games. Analysis firsthand, not Google like other lames. Stats and recaps cover the West and East. Can't forget, we're on Sean Johnson, watch every week. DPs for the elite, 10 gam get you the vets. Playoff trees as American as it gets. It's time to turn off the world, grab a drink and let's go. We're battered MLS fans, so lock in on the show. We're battered MLS fans, so lock in on the
No
show.
question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the Batter fans are back. Welcome everybody to episode number 91 of the Batter MLS Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Gunn, alongside me, as always, Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
It is an eventful playoffs, my friend. Very eventful playoffs, and I'm here for it.
The playoffs are awesome. The second round was fun. We had some fun moments, some classics, actually, because I think that the LAFC Vancouver game, everybody was predicting that could possibly be the championship game, right? Because those two teams are so good. LAFC was rocking and rolling going into that game. And it had that special moment. Shout out to, I don't even know how to say your name, but shout out to you from Chicago. Chris loves to try to pronounce the name, so go for it, Chris.
It's F. Saradik.
All right. I bet you're gonna be like on the money. Chris is good. Chris is good when it comes to that. All right. So I think the best game of the second round and the best moment of the second round was definitely in that first game, LAFC versus Vancouver. Vancouver dominated the first half. LAFC got on in the second half. But obviously the moment was Son gets that free kick in the stoppage time, and he nails it. He curls it upper 90.
Oh my goodness, it was such a beautiful blast.
It was like, it was that special moment. It reminded me of Messi's first game ever against Cruz Azul. He hit that free kick because it's the first playoff game, or not the first playoff game, but that first playoff moment for Son. Like it was written in the stars. And when he scored that, not only did he score that, but Blackman had a red card, so he was all of a sudden they're down to 10 men. I was like, they might win this in regulation. Then they go to extra time. They're playing with 10 men. They eventually get another red card. They go down to 9 men with like 6 or 7 minutes left. I thought that after Son made that goal, it was a wrap. I thought LAFC was a shoo-in for the Western Conference Finals. I was very surprised, and shout out to Vancouver for holding it down and winning that game anyway.
Well, and not only that, but if you think about it, not only was it like a standout moment, but Son was the person that scored both goals in this game. But that kind of shows you what a full team is versus a couple of all-stars where you have Bowanga and Son, who are the top two on the team, with a cast of other players that kind of help out as well. I thought it was a fantastic game, went to penalties. And
Son missed that first one.
Son missed, so I imagine he was crushed.
Yeah, man. But you can't be too hard on him for that, because he scored the 2 goals that got you there. He scored the goal that got you there. But, shame on LAFC for not being able – and David Martinez had a rough extra time. But I think that it sucked that they had an opportunity. They're down to 9 men. You had great opportunities to win this game, and that was Dolo's last game, Sharon Dolo's last game as an LAFC manager. Everybody was really happy about that. Shout out to Will from MLS Moves, because he was trashing Dolo and don't hire any of his disciples because they're all losers. Look, Dolo won an MLS Cup. He won a Supporter Shield. He won it on the same year. The next year they made it to the MLS Cup final. Like, you can hate Dolo all you want because you feel like maybe he has underperformed the last couple seasons, but Dolo had a pretty good tenure. When you win the Supporter Shield, you win the MLS Cup, you make it to the MLS Cup final the following year. They made it to the Champions Cup final. I think it was 2023 or 2024. I forgot which of the 2 years. Like, they had a good run. Like, they made it to the semifinals of the Western Conference this year. Maybe he wasn't the best. I can see why people dislike him. But I wouldn't say that it was a disaster of a tenure, because they had some success over the last couple of seasons.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they kept him or didn't keep him. And
but
I think
he announced that he was leaving months ago.
Yeah, and I think that LAFC next year is going to be one of the top 2 teams in the Western Conference because they can only get better from this point forward.
Yeah,
You had
it's gonna be
half a
interesting.
season from Son and had a phenomenal outcome. Imagine a full season with him.
And he unlocked Bologna because all of a sudden Bologna went on a scoring tear. They're going to be a fun
Yes.
year fun team to watch next year. I believe they didn't qualify for the Champions Cup, which is a shame because it would have been nice to see them in the Champions Cup. But
Absolutely.
that was the first game of the weekend. Vancouver ended up moving on. We'll jump straight over to we'll finish I guess with the West Coast last night. San Diego takes care of business against Minnesota. Andres Dreyer, the runner-up in the MVP, in my opinion, scores the game winner. San Diego, first expansion team, I believe, to make it to the Western Conference Final. Now, people are asking, has there ever been an expansion team that's won the MLS Cup Final? Yes. The Chicago Fire won the MLS Cup in their expansion year. But San Diego, I think, has shocked everybody because I don't even think San Diego fans themselves would have expected that their team could possibly win the MLS Cup in the first year.
Well, I know that I had pretty high expectations for them because San Diego's a team. And I mentioned that before. And not only that, but Minnesota, you saw during the season, Minnesota was very hills and valleys, very ups, very downs. And they maintained a good spot throughout the entire season, but they weren't consistently great. San Diego was holding it down for the most part, scoring crazy goals. I mean, a lot of people could be able to argue that Dreyer is the MVP, obviously. Now
if
you
Messi
can't
didn't
argue
have the numbers,
that.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. But at the same time, like to be able to take that effect on an expansion, like the first year, that's freaking amazing. And that's considering that he wasn't even the biggest signing when he's behind Chucky Lozano.
And St. Louis City also ended up first place in the Western Conference a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I want to say.
But they
they
didn't
flamed
make
out
it to the
immediately.
Western.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they flamed out immediately. Shout out to Mr. Manny from India watching us live.
Shout out.
So shout out to you. So San Diego is going to host Vancouver. Vancouver, they have a great home field advantage. Hugo Lloris from LAFC, the goalkeeper, was trashing Vancouver's pitch. Well, Vancouver doesn't have that advantage.
Not the only one either.
No. Well, actually, if NYCFC makes it to the final, we're going to get to them in a second. Vancouver would actually host NYCFC, but if Miami makes it, Miami hosts everybody. But they'll be playing in San Diego, so that's going to be interesting. San Diego hosting Vancouver. But Vancouver, to me, I thought that the Vancouver LAFC game was the Western Conference Final to an extent because I think that whoever wins that game is going to make it to the final. I know we're going to preview the game with some guests tomorrow, but as of right now, Vancouver or San Diego?
I feel like it's written in the stars to have these star-studded matchups where you have Mueller versus Messi. So I feel like that's what it's going to come down to, where you're going to have Vancouver reaching it to the finals. That's just my opinion.
I know. I agree. Look, I think that it was crazy. Sebastian Berhalter, the emotion that he showed when they got the penalty kicks. Dude, he was so the way he was yelling just because they didn't allow a goal, right? They went down to 9 men and they still held on to go to PKs, and he's there celebrating. Yes. I love Sebastian Berhalter. I think he's a baller, and I love the enthusiasm that he showed. So Vancouver, San Diego, that's the Western Conference. Now the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia, the Supporters Shield. The Supporters Shield curse lives on. Another Supporters Shield winner that bows out early. Philadelphia loses to NYCFC. Now Philadelphia always held over NYCFC that. In 2021, it was the COVID championship for NYCFC because they eliminated Philadelphia in these conference finals, but because half the team was missing from Philadelphia. But NYCFC said, you know what? We're missing our best player, and we're still going to go to Philadelphia and beat you. They did 1-0, and shout out to Matt Freese. Played one hell of a game, and he had one crazy, that save that he had. I forget who it was from Philadelphia that that shot. That
It was
took
like
the
at
shot.
point blank, no?
Point blank distance, and he made that right there won the game because they tied the game there. Philadelphia starts feeling themselves. So Matt
Oh,
Freese,
yes.
player of the game, in my opinion, with that save, and Matt Freese, Mr. America, Captain America, no, Mr. America, because I think that he might be the best goalie in the league right now, and we'll see how things look because he was the goalie for USA just a couple weeks ago.
Well, I don't know if you saw the representative for Jamaica, Andre Blake, had a phenomenal save.
Oh, yes,
There was
the way
a
he
point.
dove. Yeah.
Listen, and the commentator was, I mean, this shot came from more than half field. This was gonna go in, and the
Yeah, but he
commentator's
was
like,
way
"Oh,
off.
typically."
I don't know what he was doing
Yeah,
all the way
but
out there though.
the commentator was like, "Oh, typically goalies aren't that fast." I'm like, Andre Blake is Jamaican. Okay, he's putting them skates on and he's gonna make it to the ball. Trust
sure.
me. Andre
If you're
Blake is a
Jamaican, you're
phenomenal
fast.
goalkeeper. Yes, and he is a phenomenal goalkeeper. So shout out to Andre Blake, even though he got subbed out in the game, but the backup made a pretty critical save as well. I'm actually surprised that Philly couldn't be able to bolster up, putting up a point. But let me tell you, losing Sullivan was a big hit for Philadelphia.
Quinn Sullivan, I'm telling you, when Quinn Sullivan went down, my optimism for Philadelphia went down. Also, Quinn Sullivan, I think, was an unsung hero throughout the season. A lot of people kind of focused in on Baribo because he was the one scoring the goals, but I think Quinn Sullivan was key. And losing him, I think, was a big loss. But Philadelphia loses at home NYCFC. This is the first time they do it. In 2021, I believe it was, that they eliminated the New England Revolution when they were the Supporter Shield champs on their way to the MLS Cup final. So NYCFC, no stranger to upsets on the road against Supporter Shield winners. But they will be traveling to Miami because Miami went ahead and mollywopped Cincinnati. I know a lot of people were doubting Miami. A lot of people had Cincinnati as a really big threat to Miami. Evander had a great season, had a horrible playoff run. That series against Columbus, he was horrible. Brenner played a little better in the Columbus series, but he was also a ghost on Saturday against Miami. Denke also. I think the top three were really an embarrassment the way that they performed in the attack, and also their pressing responsibilities. They were supposed to press Miami, and I felt like Miami was beating that press quite easily after the first 50. After Messi scored the goal, I don't know if the morale went down or what, but I felt like they were beating that press easy. And Miami basically dominated. Messi with 4 goal contributions. Tadeo Allende, which has been off all year, scores 2 goals. And then the story of the day is that Luis Suarez doesn't start. They start Svelti over Luis Suarez, and young leg, 19-year-old, he ends up balling out a golden assist, makes a world of difference. Miami, I think, is looking like the most dangerous team at the moment, the way the run that they've been on over the last couple of weeks.
Well, they're definitely hitting stride when it matters. And not only that, but you also have the fact that Cincinnati was seen as like a pretty big deal when it comes to like offensive productivity. When you looked at the top 3, Denke, Brenner, and Evander, I mean, they totally flopped. They definitely lost the momentum the moment that Inter Miami scored. And you could see it. I mean, there was turnovers all over the place for Cincinnati. You had Messi come back and play defense, rob Evander, who's one of the most skilled players in the MLS with the ball at his feet. And you see replays or you see camera angles of Evander, he looked defeated during the game. Like if I was a Cincinnati fan, I'd be pretty disappointed. And the worst part is that Evander's track record doesn't really show the best when it comes to like playoff performances. So that's kind of the scary part from a Cincinnati perspective. I mean, Inter Miami, again, they showed that this wasn't fixed. This wasn't in the books. Like they dominated that performance against Cincinnati.
Yeah, look, I thought that they dominated a lot more than I expected, and I think that people are probably going to be a little more fearful of Miami because I think that it had gotten to a point where people didn't fear Miami anymore. They're like, okay, they're beatable. Their defense is really bad.
Yeah.
But 2 clean sheets, 2 games in a row, first time in playoff history for Miami, obviously. And Messi, I think that since he's been here since 2023. This has been the hottest streak that he's been on since being in Inter Miami. And Mr. Manny asked an interesting question. He said he's watched a couple MLS matches and the stadiums look crazy, but just Chase Stadium doesn't feel like has that energy. And you know what? I thought that the atmospheres were all great this whole weekend. Miami does tend to lack that feeling. I don't know if it's because it's a temporary stadium or what it is, but Miami has a chance to show out this weekend. And NYCFC will come out strong also because NYCFC has a lot of supporters, especially down south because they got a lot of displaced New Yorkers down here.
Yes.
And I know a lot of them that are coming down. So it's going to be a great atmosphere for that game also. But much like I asked you in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, Miami, NYCFC. Miami has only beaten NYCFC twice in their history. Once in 2022 with Pozuelo when he was running the show because Pozuelo was the NYCFC killer. And then this latest game when they beat them 4-0 the last time they played. Who do you have, Miami or NYCFC coming into this weekend?
So we basically know that having a good 10 is the result for Inter Miami wins against NYCFC. And I think that at this point, the best thing is we've been hitting a trajectory that's better, right? Because not only did we win against NYCFC, but between the win with Pozuelo and the last one we had, there's been 3 ties. So we've actually been doing pretty decent against NYCFC. They're missing their best player. They only won 1-0 against Philadelphia, who's a pretty decent to good defensive team. I think that Inter Miami can be able to win handedly at home.
At home, I think is the the main point. I think the fact that they're playing at home is going to be a big advantage.
1,000%.
I think Miami is a really good home team, and I think that would set up for a very interesting final because if we both think Vancouver, we both think Miami. If we get Miami, Vancouver, I think it's very interesting because I think that the fact that they played twice already this year in the Champions Cup and Vancouver dominated, I think was very telling. And I think that it would be a cool rematch because I know that Miami is out to get revenge at home this time. And Vancouver wants to show that it wasn't a fluke, right? Because I think a lot of people are doubting Vancouver if they were to play Miami again. So I think it would be a really cool matchup. And then you have the big 2 names, which is what you want to promote to the rest of the world.
Well, that's one angle. I mean, Danny, think about this. Like, you've watched 90s basketball and you know the sort of like package that, you know, NBC and CBS, they do to, you know, muster up this whole like feeling of like intensity and rivalry. Like the MLS, you guys, if you're watching MLS people, you guys have an opportunity to bring up all of that stuff. Mueller versus Messi. You have the CCC. You have the video of Suarez spitting on some guy that works for. That was against Seattle. That was against Seattle. My bad. You have video of all that stuff. Like you could be able to build this matchup to where people are going to be like, "Ooh, I gotta watch that. I need to see that game."
I think as far as the MLS goes, right? As far as the MLS as a whole goes, the best final for them would have been LAFC versus Inter Miami. Two big markets, Sun versus Messi. I think that would have been the best. The second best outcome would be Inter Miami versus Vancouver, I think, because of Mueller, because of the history in the CCC. So I do think that that those are possible. Now, if you get a San Diego versus NYCFC final, I think it's great for those two fan bases, NYCFC, because I feel like they've been one of the better teams despite not really having any big names, but they've consistently competing. Yes. And then San Diego for being an expansion team. So I think that those two would bring their own really good storylines, but in the eyes of the world, which is what the MLS wants to try to attract more of, it has to be Inter Miami versus Vancouver. So NYCFC San Diego, great for the MLS diehard fan. But as far as pushing and promoting to the world, I think Miami versus Vancouver is what they're going to want. But it's going to be interesting. And we will be back tomorrow with a couple of guests talking, representing Vancouver, representing San Diego, hopefully, NYCFC, and Inter Miami. So that should be a fun show because we're there. 4 teams left. It's the final 4. That's it. This is what it comes down to. So I'm looking forward to it. Any final words, Chris?
I'm stoked for it. I'm looking forward to the matchups. I mean, this weekend we have conference finals. it's going to be a fantastic weekend to be able to watch what happens. Because San Diego and Vancouver, I'm actually looking forward to that matchup more than the Inter Miami and NYCFC. I feel like that one is going to be more of a doozy. I'm looking forward to it.
I am also. But regardless, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about it, and we'll be back to talk about the conference, the results at the end of the week. If you're listening on audio, appreciate you listening to the end. Please give us 5 stars and a comment. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, why haven't you already? Like and subscribe. And for those of you in the chat, appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the last 21 minutes. And batteredfans.com. We have Believe shirts for all the teams across the country, across the league. If you want to go check that out, Black Friday 25 for 25% off, and get your merchandise. And we'll end it there. We'll be back later this week. Tomorrow to preview the games. So until the next one, have a good one.